Good afternoon and happy Thanksgiving from the entire Wustenhoff family. This time of year always gets a little tough because it's the holidays and we are always thinking of our dad who we lost almost 35 years ago. But today we're spending time together as family and we will never give up the fight for justice. Thank you everyone for your support and happy Thanksgiving.
Well, hey, everybody, it's Thanksgiving Day in the United States, and I just received a special note from Dennis Wustenhoff's family. They're thinking of their murdered dad today, while his alleged killer sits at home enjoying family and friends, something Dennis's family hasn't been able to do for more than 34 years. Detective Dennis Wustenhoff was murdered outside of his home in February of 1990. 3 decades later, his family remains steadfast in their quest for justice, keeping Dennis's memory alive and urging authorities to bring his killer into accountability. Hey, welcome to Profiling Evil, and thanks so much for joining us on this Thanksgiving Day in America. Please hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell, and make sure you're getting all of our notifications on videos just like this one. In fact, make sure you're watching out for our new series, Twisted Tales. Now, this video is going to delve into the ongoing efforts that the Wustenhoff family is making. I want to talk about my personal connection to their cause and the renewed spotlight on this tragic case through imagery, interviews, and through some stories from my recent visit to their home in Long Island. The neighborhood and that fateful day that Dennis Wustenhoff was murdered was a quiet little suburban neighborhood, typical of Suffolk County's charm. Tree-lined streets, close-knit families, and an air of tranquility. That peace, though, was shattered on February 15th, 1990, when a bomb planted inside Dennis's unmarked police vehicle detonated outside of his home after he got into the car and started it to go to work. Dennis was an incredible narcotics detective, and he succumbed to his injuries, leaving behind not only a grieving wife and 3 young children, but a community of law enforcement and people in absolute horror. The attack, brazen and horrifying, left neighbors shaken and ignited with fear within their community, and again, law enforcement across the board, wondering if this had been a hit by a criminal out there trying to get Dennis. The Suffolk County Police Department immediately launched a thorough investigation, or what they thought was thorough in the beginning, but the case remains unsolved to this day, even though they have an alleged killer in their sights. Adding to the anguish, Dennis's family was placed under police protection immediately after the murders because there were concerns that the perpetrators might target other family members. So for weeks, their lives were upended, filled with uncertainty and fear. Their lives continued to be upended as they dealt with the trauma of losing Dennis. At his funeral, thousands of police officers honored him, and this was a testimony to the impact on the community and those in law enforcement that Dennis had. Thousands of police officers from across the nation traveled to Suffolk County in order to pay their final respects. The sight of the sea of blue uniforms, the honor guards, and the hearse carrying Dennis's flag-draped coffin, he was also a veteran, I might add, is something that the family and the community will never forget. I don't want us to ever forget this until that alleged suspect is brought to justice, or at least someone the killer is brought to justice. The local funeral home that handled the arrangements is a long-standing institution in the area. They were overwhelmed by the sheer number of mourners who came to honor Dennis's service and sacrifice as a police officer. The family, grieving and under constant protection of law enforcement, leaned on the support of the community during this unimaginably difficult time. As part of my commitment to highlighting this case, I recently traveled to Long Island to meet with the Wustenhoff family. We shared a quiet breakfast together, reflecting on Dennis's life and the ripple effects of his murder. The family's strength and determination moved me deeply, and our conversation underscored the importance of keeping Dennis's story alive. While on Long Island, I captured the imagery of the places tied to Dennis's story, including the neighborhood where the crime occurred and other locations of significance to the investigation. These visuals, combined with the family's recent interview and my discussions with them, provide a poignant backdrop to other videos that I have on my Profiling Evil playlist. So I hope you'll go back and check those out. The Wustenhoff family's unwavering fight for justice is a testament to their love for Dennis and their hope that the truth will one day emerge. Their appearance on a recent interview shines a new light on the personal toll that this unresolved case has taken on them, while reinforcing their dedication to keep this thing in the public eye. That's something that Profiling Evil, we're really hoping to be a part of, to keep this in front of people until the killer is brought to justice. The family has worked tirelessly to ensure that Dennis's memory is honored, and their courage has inspired countless others to join in their cause. As someone with a personal connection to this incredible family, I feel a profound responsibility to help amplify their voices. So by replaying their interview and revisiting other videos on Dennis's murder, I hope that you will join in restoring public interest in this case and encourage anyone with information about the murder to contact the Suffolk County Police Department. The detectives there continue to seek answers, and public awareness is critical to maintaining momentum in that pursuit. In fact, it was for that reason that I reached out to Dr. Phil McGraw and asked him to bring the family on to talk about the case. Hopefully that the additional publicity might lead again the current district attorney in Suffolk County to move forward on the case. This was the first time, I believe, that Dennis's wife, Fran, spoke about the case publicly, and publicly it was, in front of more than 10 million people. It was incredible, and thanks to Dr. Phil. With a supportive Phil platform, the family hopes to reach new audiences, encourage tipsters, and apply pressure on those decision makers who might hold critical information about the case. It has been an honor to be an ally with the Wustenhoff family. Through this platform, the platform of Profiling Evil, we've worked to spotlight the case, explore its details, and analyze potential leads. My hope is that our continued collaboration will bring renewed energy to the investigation and hopefully highlight the need for public attention to drive progress in cold cases like this one. Appearing with the family is the power of the community and the media in advocating for justice. My hope is that together we might offer compelling narratives of loss, hope, and determination that still resonate within the Wustenhoff family and in other families around the world who suffer with the same kind of challenges. So my hope is that all of you will watch the recent interview and explore other videos on the Wustenhoff murder that are here on the Profiling Evil playlist. These videos delve into the details of the case, the community's response, and the enduring efforts to seek justice. Together, I believe we can keep this story alive and support the Wustenhoff family as they continue their tireless pursuit for answers. Detective Dennis Wustenhoff was a hero, a father, and a beloved member of his community. Keeping his story in the public eye is a vital step in ensuring that his legacy is not forgotten and that his killer is held accountable. Let's honor Dennis and his family by standing with them in their quest for justice. In Suffolk County, he's remembered as a fallen hero, and his name is etched into the police memorial wall at Suffolk County Police Headquarters. In recent years, the Wustenhoff family's continued efforts to seek justice have brought renewed public attention to his story, prompting increased pressure on local law enforcement to revisit this case and other unsolved cases. So for his family, the hope for closure remains strong, and they continue to advocate for resources to be dedicated towards solving Dennis's murder. While the month of February is an annual anniversary reminder of Dennis's death, his story is a solemn reminder of the sacrifices made by law enforcement officers and the devastating impact of unsolved cases on the families who were left behind. This Thanksgiving season in the United States has been profoundly tender for me as I think of the many families who will celebrate the holiday without the loving presence of police officers like Dennis Wustenhoff. I hope you'll keep them all in your prayers as you enjoy the holiday season. And please take time to watch this special news interview with Detective Dennis Wustenhoff's family. And from all of us at Profiling Evil, thanks. Happy holidays. And we'll see you soon at the next crime scene.
Coming up on Crime Files.
Neighbors say you could hear the explosion blocks away.
A bomb detonates in a small town, killing a beloved police detective.
How does somebody get murdered in front of their house in broad daylight?
It was catastrophic.
Sparking anger and outrage.
It's torture, and I'm angry.
And calls for justice.
We will not rest until the individuals responsible for this are brought to justice. I can vow that.
They told us they were going to arrest someone. They were going to get them. We're fighting for justice now.
A family desperately searching for answers.
When you have something unresolved like that, you're just victimized forever.
As rumors spread about who may have murdered their father.
When you put all the information together, I believe it's him.
Crime Files starts now.
Suffolk County Detective Dennis Wustenhoff killed Thursday when a bomb planted in an undercover police car exploded moments after he got into the vehicle parked in front of his North Patchogue home. Neighbors say you could hear the explosion blocks away.
It's shocking. You know, it's something you don't expect for this type of neighborhood.
Wustenhoff has been involved in high-level narcotics cases since 1984. Regarding motive, police are focusing heavily on revenge.
We're going to leave no stone unturned to solve this crime.
It was catastrophic. His organs were just destroyed.
On the morning of February 15, 1990, Suffolk County undercover narcotics detective Dennis Wustenhoff is actually on his way to work when a bomb planted in his unmarked police car explodes.
The blast went straight up into his body. It's the springs in the seat, it's the carpet, it's the molding, it's the seat upholstery. It's all of those things at a trajectory that's unimaginable, being fired up into your body and then being awake after it happens.
A lot of people just assume he died right away. He didn't.
Tore him up, and he was alive. And he was aware of it.
So calls begin pouring into the News 12 assignment desk. Our crew rushes to the scene. As our photographer is capturing images of the blast aftermath, reporters begin to swarm this small town.
I worked for 1010 Winds. I was the Long Island correspondent. And I remember the reporters, some of them saying, "Why are you going all the way out there? That's a far ride. By the time you get out there, it might be over. It may be nothing." Well, as we know, it turned out to be a big something.
You get to the scene and what do you see?
The windows had been blown out of the home. There was debris everywhere. You knew that it was a vehicle, but ripped to shreds.
So police are collecting evidence at the scene. Wustenhoff is rushed into surgery at Stony Brook University Hospital, and his kids are immediately pulled out of school.
I remember everything about that day. There's no blackout spots for me. I remember everything as if it happened a moment ago. I was in 7th period English class at Saxon Middle School. The teacher looked at me and she said, "Kevin, they want you in the principal's office." So I don't understand already what's happening. I sat down and he explained to me that my father was in some kind of an accident. He didn't have any details about it.
Kevin is put in the back of a police car with his sisters Jennifer and Melissa. They speed down Nichols Road to the hospital. I'll just never forget the sound of the engine of the police car because he floored it. He just took off. And I'm like, this is not good. We're going lights and sirens. And we go past my neighborhood. And I could see down the street, there's all yellow tape. And we don't know what the heck is going on. We're just scared. At the hospital, the children are put in a locked conference room where they anxiously wait for answers.
My mom comes in. She has to tell us that when he got into the car exploded. But he's still alive. They're doing surgery on him. And now we just have to sit with that.
It didn't seem real. Like a bomb in a car. Like that's like something on TV. They came to get my mom, these police officers, and they called her out of the room. I just heard her scream.
To this day, it's still the worst sound I've ever heard in my entire life. My mom is falling to the ground. She's weak in the knees and she's absolutely sobbing.
So nobody had to really tell us. We just knew at that point that he was gone. It was just pure chaos from that literal moment on.
We're speculating that it was directed against Dennis himself.
Former Suffolk Police Commissioner Daniel Guido takes personal interest in this case. He heads up all of the press briefings and provides details as they become available.
The explosive device was not just a pipe bomb which would have an explosive effect in all directions. The device was actually framed in a way so as to focus its energy upward. It was clearly targeted at this individual.
We had found out pretty quickly the bomb had been placed under his seat, and it was really horrifying.
This wasn't somebody who was randomly stabbed or shot or in a car wreck. This was an assassination.
Wustenhoff's the first Suffolk officer killed in the line of duty since 1978 and the first ever marked for death in the 30-year history of the Suffolk County Police Department.
Somebody went through a great deal of trouble to execute this man.
I went through the News 12 archives, and one thing was absolutely clear. This story had everyone talking.
It was hard to believe, really.
It's terrible. You wouldn't believe that anything like this could happen. So many unanswered questions as speculation mounts. Why was 41-year-old narcotics detective Dennis Wustenhoff killed? And who killed him?
Your head's going 100 miles an hour just hearing that a colleague died and the way he died. Back in '85, I was assigned to the narcotics squad, and Dennis had already been there. His reputation as a narcotics detective was incredible. He was the heart and soul of the narcotics section. If something happens to one of your own, it does hit a different vein.
It's 1990. America is firmly in the grip of the crack epidemic, and there's a surge in violent crime on the streets.
Cocaine was big on Long Island. Towards the late 80s, crack hit the streets of Long Island. Dennis took a big part in forming a program to combat crack.
Wustenhoff is an undercover detective, so he's working with high-level drug dealers on a personal level. It's an extremely dangerous job, and it comes with a lot of risk.
On some deals, you're going to have thousands of dollars on you, which the bad guys are going to know. And we have had narcotics officers robbed in the past, and I've had guns pulled on them.
He was part of a groundbreaking team that started. It was a buy-bust team. This was inserting yourself into these people's lives, suspects, informants. Very dynamic time to be a police officer, to be a detective, to be working undercover. Very dangerous time.
Right away, the assumption was it was some kind of drug-related bombing, a drug cartel. He was an undercover police officer.
He was probably assassinated, and what remains unclear at this point is by whom and for what reason. The obvious and primary theory is that it was job-connected, and that it was either done as an act of revenge or perhaps to frustrate a current investigation.
They had locked up people that Dennis was actively investigating to see if they were possibly involved, because he was involved in a very big case at that time.
The writing is on the wall. It's very clear that these people who deal in drugs know no bounds. Anything goes, including taking the life of a policeman.
Police say they're angry, and they'll spare no effort to find the persons responsible for the officer's death.
Suffolk County Police are determined to make an arrest and catch a killer who dared to target one of their own.
The police are not going to be intimidated. We are the police.
We will not rest until the individuals responsible for this are brought to justice. I can vow that.
Family and friends came to say goodbye to 41-year-old Detective Dennis Wustenhoff.
I remember the funeral, just the saddest thing to cover. Police officers from all over the country flew in.
A hero's funeral for murdered Suffolk County Detective Dennis Wustenhoff.
His fellow officers, totaling 5,000 in uniform from all over Long Island, from Texas, Michigan, Florida, and even France, saluted a man who paid the ultimate price.
Thousands of people are out there. It's silent, and they're all saluting everybody. There was no place you could look without seeing a police officer.
Well, shortly after the funeral, the investigation takes an unexpected turn.
Suddenly, there were whispers that there was something more going on.
And it was like 2 days later, the headline changed.
Coming up, salacious rumors spread like wildfire.
He went from hero cop to love triangle.
A moment ago, you were depicting him as a hero, and now you're deciding to air his dirty laundry.
But would allegations about Wustenhoff's private life lead to a break in the case?
Your comments on reports that another police officer is the chief suspect.
I'm not saying anything.
When Crime Files continues. Crime Files continues now with Officer Down.
Detective Wustenhoff, a police officer killed by an assassin's bomb, a probable victim of the drug war.
He is the first Suffolk officer killed in the line of duty since 1978 and the first ever marked for death in the 30-year history of the Suffolk County Police Department.
The reality that Wustenhoff was targeted has created a cautious atmosphere, not only for family, but for fellow undercover narcotics agents.
Drugs always have been a very big story here on Long Island, and it was pretty obvious that this had to be drug-related.
Was it going to be officer targeted? Is this a widespread thing going against the narcotics squad? You didn't know what was going to happen.
Then, in a twist that nobody expected, a new potential motive comes to light.
There were some troubles in my parents' marriage at a particular point. My dad had an affair with somebody, and that was probably about to be released all over the news.
This night, the hero's image may be marred as reports emerge that Wustenhoff was murdered by a Nassau County cop whose wife may have been having an affair with Wustenhoff, a revenge motive as originally thought, but with an adulterous twist.
Our sources informed us that a Nassau County police officer was being looked at as a suspect.
News of an alleged affair between Wustenhoff and the wife of another cop hits the press.
The headline changed. He went from hero cop to love triangle.
It was a very hot story on Long Island. And a moment ago, you were depicting him as a hero, and now you're deciding to air his dirty laundry, my parents' dirty laundry. But it was a necessary evil, because it was going to bring us to the next chapter of this horrific event.
That next chapter, a compelling new lead in the case.
He is Officer Bob Haran, who sources now say had the motive and the means to kill Detective Wustenhoff. Details of a love triangle were emerging, that Haran's wife Nancy was having an affair with Wustenhoff. Haran, a member of Nassau's Emergency Services Bureau, was familiar with explosives.
Robert Haran, he's a 20-year veteran with the Nassau County Police Department. He has extensive knowledge and experience with bombs, and he's thrust into the media spotlight. This is a development that is unimaginable for the Wustenhoff children.
What? Bob Haran? Like, I used to go in his car. I used to hang out with them. We went to the beach.
I can remember 4th of July in their backyard.
We went on vacation together. I went on vacation alone with them. Like, it was confusing.
In a 2021 interview with Dr. Phil, Dennis's wife Fran says it was on one of these vacations that she first noticed her husband flirting with Nancy Horan.
I was sitting there watching them, laughing, giggling. He's putting lotion on her back and shoulders and whatnot.
My mom knew what was going on.
She suspected, as women suspect, and used to do things like track the mileage on the car or follow him somewhere.
Jennifer tells me a year before his murder, her father came home and confessed everything to their mother, swearing that the affair was over.
They decided, we have 3 kids, we have this life, and they decided to keep it. Their marriage was great for that next year, and then he was murdered.
The Wustenhoff children even believe the timing of the murder is itself a clue, and that their father's dedication to family may have even given him 1 extra day of life.
The night before he died was February 14th, Valentine's Day, and he was supposed to work, but he decided to take off and take me to the father-daughter dance. I think he was supposed to be killed on Valentine's Day. What better way to send a message than to send a message on Valentine's Day?
This image of Horan as a calculated, cold-blooded killer seems unimaginable to other people that know him.
They seem like a lovely family, so it's very surprising. From the very first time, it was like, wow, what great neighbors.
He's such a nice, polite man that you wouldn't believe.
However, an anonymous former Suffolk County officer reveals there may have been troubles behind closed doors in the Horan household.
According to a published report, Horan told a former Suffolk cop that he knew his wife was having an affair and that he was going to kill the man she was involved with. But like other pieces of this mysterious puzzle, it's something the authorities won't comment on.
Well, despite their refusals to comment, Suffolk County police do question Horan.
I remember them searching his home, taking things out of the home.
After hours of questioning him, of collecting evidence from his Bethpage home, he is yet to be arrested or charged. His attorney says his client has denied any involvement in the murder and insists police don't have a case.
Evidence collected from Horan's home doesn't lead to his arrest, and Commissioner Guido repeatedly refuses to discuss Horan's potential involvement.
Your comments on reports that another police officer is the chief suspect.
We have never made that report. This department has consistently said from the beginning that there were a number of theories. We were investigating the personal life, we were investigating the others, and we've maintained that all along.
Are you saying the reports are not true?
I'm not saying anything.
At first it was gung-ho. We're going to get the guy who did this. I can tell you the mood changed dramatically when it was thought to be a Nassau County police officer who had planted the bomb. It almost became a code of silence. There was like this wall that went up. It was like, leave it alone, leave it alone, leave it alone.
So weeks after the bombing, Horan still isn't officially named a suspect by law enforcement. And as for the theory that Wustenhoff's murder may have been connected to his undercover work, that was also looked into. But ultimately, it led nowhere.
It was not related to any cases he's working on at that time.
It was frustrating because we're covering this story every single day, and then suddenly it was as if it didn't happen. It really just shut down.
Still ahead. Have police hit a dead end in this long, cold case?
We feel let down by the police department. My dad didn't do them dirty, but they're doing him dirty.
Plus,
I called retired Nassau police officer Robert Horan to get his side of the story. Police detective Dennis Wustenhoff is killed in a vicious car bombing in February of 1990. Police questioned a Nassau County police officer whose wife was allegedly having an affair with Wustenhoff, but officially, no suspects are ever named.
It always haunted me. This story seems so insane that no one is charged with this crime. It's baffling.
In the years since Wustenhoff's murder, his family has met with everyone, from detectives to police commissioners, even district attorneys about this case.
We don't forget, and we're not going anywhere.
We're not giving up. There is still a killer walking around out there, free.
Meeting after meeting, commissioner after commissioner, we've gotten really nowhere.
I support our police officers, Nassau and Suffolk County, but to me, this is a blemish on both. Even if it's someone else, why has someone not been held accountable for really this horrific murder?
I'm angry that my dad's murder is unsolved, and I'm not sure if it's unsolved or unprosecuted.
Has enough been done?
Well, is it solved? So no, not enough has been done. We feel let down by the police department. This is one of their own. My dad didn't do them dirty, but they're doing him dirty.
I reached out to Suffolk County Police, and they said this case is still open, and they do follow up on any new leads, but they can't comment on an ongoing investigation. And I also wondered about Robert Horan, the former Nassau County police officer who was questioned in 1990 but never officially named a suspect. I wondered, after all these years, if given the chance to tell his side of the story, what would he have to say? Hi, is this Robert Horan? This is Kristen. The man who answered the phone said he did not wish to comment and quickly hung up on me. And as for the Wustenhoff children, they have vowed to continue to fight for justice for their father.
Maybe we have a little bit of our dad in us where we're like, no, we're going to question this. And we're going to question you next year, and the year after, and the year after, and we're not stopping.
If the public has information, we need it. And let's catch a killer.